Judge Rasheed.
Thank you, sir.
You know, it's an honor to have you here. Some of the things that are going on around the world,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of what's happened. So I'm inquisitive in some of those questions, but um, you moving up the ranks from a judge to from a lawyer to a judge, you didn't stay there. You did some things um, uh, that were instrumental in terms of young people. And we were just talking about young people in COVID.
Yes, sir.
First of all, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm Jawwaad Rasheed, and I live in central New York in the Utica, Rome area. And I am a retired New York State Family Court magistrate. And more importantly, I am a zealous advocate of young people, as the doctor was talking about young people, and specifically empowering young people of color.
Yeah.
My whole thing is, again, as she indicated, we have to let them know that they have to be the change that they seek.
Yes.
That is excellent. And you know, we always love to bring people of color on the show because part of our audience are people of color, to let them know that, you know, you don't have to allow for your circumstances to create your future or your situation. You could wallow in it, or you can make changes. So tell us about one of those things that you're currently doing to help with those changes.
Yes, sir. Well, I am a part of a national organization called the Frontiers International. And more specifically, my local chapter is called the Mohawk Valley Frontiers. We live in the Mohawk Valley, that's part of New York State. And so we're the Mohawk Valley Frontiers. Specifically, I'm totally engaged with our youth component called the Junior Frontiers. And what we do is we have, I have 6 other co-directors. These are professional adults who give their time, money, their expertise, their love, compassion to young people. And for the last since 1996, we have poured everything that we have from our professional perspective, our cultural perspective, and our hopes and aspirations into the youth of our area, the Utica, Rome, Syracuse, Buffalo. We have multiple locations throughout New York State, and we have developed a program which we believe is truly transformational, changing the lives of those who are written off as not going to be able to succeed, those who are written off as not academically capable or did not have the insight to be successful. So we have provided the backdrop to, we think, a successful series of events and programs that lift these children up and give them the courage, insight, and ability to compete anywhere, and more importantly, to love the skin they're in.
I love that.
Your Honor, what age group we're talking about?
We start with 4th graders and we go through PhD. So we cover the gamut. We have kids as young as 10 and 11, and students who are 27, 28 still pursuing their professional degrees.
So, Your Honor, how many of those young people have come through that program, graduated, and have turned their life around?
Great point. Since 1996, when we originally got started, we started with 8 students. Now our annual number, going on the school calendar, is between 200 to 240 students a year. And we have a 98.9% college admissions and college attendance. And we're working on our number for college graduation. So far, we're somewhere between 85 to 89% college graduation. And of that, we send over 40% of our students to graduate programs, JDs, MDs, MBAs, and other various master programs and PhDs.
Now, do you 4th grade, for 10-year-old 4th grade, hey, I want to get involved in this, what would I have to do?
Yes, we'd like you to go to our website and sign up. And we, thanks to, unfortunately, as you were talking, you're tired of talking about COVID, I know. But one of the things that COVID did, which is a very strong suit of African Americans historically, is we always had to improvise. We always had to make something out of nothing. And so COVID again made us go back to our necessity of going virtual. And so we have perfected now the art of not only our meeting our students who are meet in the facilities in the cities that we service, but we also do virtual. So we touch students all over the country. We have members of our organization from Atlanta, Memphis, Houston, Indianapolis, New Jersey, Georgia. So we have been able to reach out to students all over the country. And if they go to our website and sign up, we'll be in touch with them and hook them up with our bi-weekly meetings.
Now,
So
is it
so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
is it the child that's signing up, or the parent, or the school? How do you
When
go?
they're that young, as a fourth grade, it's definitely going to be the parents. But
No,
we have
if it would be a school recommendation to you, or something like that. Okay.
we find that not taking anything away from our educational institutions, public or private or charter, but we find that it's best to go directly through the parents, as your colleague was saying. Education is, I think, today is so heavily dependent upon parent participation. So we go directly through the parents, unless they're in high school, and they don't. A lot of them don't have that parent influence in their lives, and we work directly with those high school and college students.
What kind of wait, John, you had a question before I go.
Yeah, Your Honor, what is the recidivism rate for the program that you are conducting?
By recidivism rate, you mean how many come back, or how many they're
Exactly. How many of them come back, right?
Well, that's the beauty of our program, is that most of our kids who start in fourth grade, they finish. One of the things we do, we guarantee them, if they start with us by eighth grade, we guarantee them that if they run our program and do what we tell them to do, I can guarantee them scholarships for college. Guaranteed if they run our program. I don't care what.
You hear that? And villagers, you hear that? What the judge is basically saying? His program gives these young kids who may have strayed, instead of doing the straight and narrow, strayed a little bit, but he put them back on track, the program, and gave them another opportunity at life. So I mean, villagers, you hear what this is what it's all about. What you're doing is not only admirable, but it's God's work. Basically, taking those young people out of the wilderness, taking them out of the wilderness and bringing them back into the light.
Yes, sir. Well, not just me. I have, thank God, I have 6, sometimes 7 co-directors who put in, all of these are adults, Black members of the Black and brown communities, who put in 10 to 30 hours every single week in volunteer work. We pay nobody. We're a totally volunteer organization. And they really care about their community, and we put the work in. And like you said, that's the miracle, is the transformational processes lies within the hearts and compassion of the people who touch these children's lives.
That's true.
Your Honor, one of our as Miss Muhammad Gail has made a comment. She says, does your organization work with the youth who have been placed in juvenile detention facilities, like you with the New York State Office of Children and Family Services?
We do not have a direct collaboration with youth division in New York State. We have had many students come through our program who have been in some type of incarceration system. We have had students do that. We don't necessarily have a relationship with those organizations, but when we find students like that, we utilize every ounce of our expertise to help those students. We have a lot of students who are in foster care.
So we need, I mean, that's a collaboration, a connection that really needs to happen.
I hear you. And
so I'm wondering, would you be interested in doing something like that?
Yes, sir. Given our resources, and I'm always a straight shooter. Given the resources that we have to focus on the things that we know we can do. However, that is a wonderful extension of something that we had the resources. I know we could do it.
Well, I mean, that's something that, we need to look into, because I'm
Yes,
quite
sir.
sure the our Governor Hochul would be
Yeah,
interested in something like that.
I
So
hear you.
Roderick, I think you should be able to try to facilitate a connection here, Mr. Daly. What do you think?
Put me on the spot. Yeah, I really think it's a great great
And
idea.
Gail, I want to thank Ms. Muhammad for bringing that up. So I
Yeah,
think that's something that we should definitely follow up. And this is why, you know, this village, what we do is so important, to bring this sort of information to our communities so we can develop something from something like this. So I
Yeah.
want to give kudos to Mr. Daly for really having a program like this.
you know,
Yes.
I want to go back, Judge. Uh, this idea of giving back to the youth, where did it come from?
For me personally, I can't speak for my other co-directors, but for me personally, it came from my father. My father uh, taught me everything I needed to know by the time I was 6 or 7, because he taught me dedication, hard work. He taught me perseverance. He taught me how to be creative and not let a situation define me. I mean, so all those things I learned as a little boy. But the desire to give back was always in my household. We grew up very, very poor in Buffalo, New York. Um, my father had a second grade education because he came from Mississippi, where he had to go out in the fields and work. By the time he was in 3rd grade, he was doing a man's job, so they didn't let him become educated. He educated himself, but in doing that, he passed that on to us, that there are no limitations except the one you put on yourself. And so I learned that I had to give back because of so much he gave to us. And he was steadily giving to his community. He was steadily giving to, he worked 3 jobs, and everything he got, he was giving to African communities, from the little money that he had every year that I've known in my life. And so I started just doing the same thing. I'm trying to emulate my hero, so that's where I got it from.
It, it's awesome to hear that a lot of us who are actually listening out there, we are from the same type of background, right?
Yes, sir.
Where whether whatever it is. I mean, I could speak for my parents, right, with the
Yeah.
limited education that they got, and they trained me to say, I think I had said at the beginning of the show, that your community or circumstances
That's
does
right.
not always dictate your future,
Amen.
because you can become the change that is needed, right?
Yes.
And so we applaud that. I see a couple of people out here talked about the Junior Frontier Program. Is that name Connie Mack? I can't read that. Luis is saying that the Frontier Program is an excellent program. And Gail followed up and said that she'll make an effort to find the contacts for
Yes.
this department that she's talking about. A lot of our young people are suffering.
Yes, they are.
Right? A lot of young people are suffering. So when you think about this, how do you do outreach?
Yes, sir.
How do you do outreach?
So,
And yes, let's start with that question. How do you
okay.
do outreach?
Yeah. So one of the things we do is we go to where the kids are. The school districts that will work with us, we work with them. We go into the schools. We do open houses. We do professional days. We bring Black experts into the school districts. We work with the youth organizations that are in organizations of color that are in our area. Well, we go to the underground cafes that the students deal with. We meet students wherever they at, and we always are pushing, hey, what if you found yourself in a situation where you had control of your destiny? Are you willing to find out what that's all about? And then we go to the churches, we go to the mosques, we go to the temples, we go to wherever the kids are, and we partner with any organization that want to be collaborative in a positive way to uplift these students. So to answer your question, we meet them wherever they are.
Now, where are the different branches of your organization? I know you mentioned Mohawk. You're the Mohawk
Valley.
location. Yes,
And
Mohawk Valley
so
location.
mhm.
Where other locations?
So we're in Utica, Rome. That's where we started. Then we
Okay.
moved to Syracuse. So we got those three cities are like 1 hour apart.
Right.
That's an easy call for us because we're only traveling an hour one way, an hour the other way. And then we moved to Buffalo, New York, which is a 3 hour trip. And next year we're opening up in Rochester. And we also moved. We took a quantum leap, and because we were getting calls, so many calls from Tennessee, we went to Memphis, and we opened up a branch in Memphis. This year is our first year in Memphis. We
Wow.
also work with our collaborating sisters and brother programs in Indianapolis, Houston, Atlanta, Raleigh, Durham area, North Carolina, and Washington, D.C., Virginia area.
What can it take to open one in New York City?
That's
We
what
have yes, sir. We have to get a critical mass, of interested parents. Hopefully, some professionals,
I'm one
the
right
main parents, and people who will help us carry the banner. It would be very difficult for me to be in New York City every other week, to organize. So I have to have people willing to do organizational work so that we can then do the fundamental transformation work. So I'm just looking for. We've had students from New York City. I should tell you that because we've had kids from New York City via Zoom for the last 10, 15 years. We've been working with kids out in New York City. But in terms of the numbers, we haven't done the numbers that we would like to get out of the city because it takes people on the ground.
I think what Joanne and I are alluding to is tell us specifically
the number you're looking for.
The number you're looking for, and what is it? Because we know we're from we're all part of the New York City system a little bit. I have a lot of parents who are who would be interested in something like this. And people are always asking me, how do I get a scholarship for college? How do I do this? How do I do that? And a lot of times they're not going to be watching the show, right? So,
right.
Or they're not gonna, but they expect the information.
That's right.
So then I guess we're asking, how do we get started with the process, and what does that look like?
I would think fundamentally the process would start with saying that if we had 6 to 8 students who are saying we're ready to do the dedicated time, work, and energy to put into this program to make it pay off for us, then I would need, for every 6 to 8 students, I would need an adult who would really ready to do some organizational work. And if we can get those two together, then we would come down there. We would work with them at certain periods of time with the adults who are volunteers. We have modules developed by one of our co-directors, Dr. Chanel Reed Benson, who's a educational expert in the field of educating Black boys and Black girls. We've developed modules that we use in our program that we can put to work immediately.
But Your Honor, why are you so successful? What is it? Give us the recipe.
We were just driven, man. I don't accept anything other than success. We're just driven. The people I have working with me are outstanding, and we're just driven. We don't know any limits. Our limit is when every child has been uplifted. I mean, that's our goal. Every child that we can touch. So I guess it's just that we're very passionate about what we do. Very passionate.
There's a comment by James Paul. Judge, can you talk about the HBCU tours and the reasons that you do that?
Now, we have done what they call the Historical Black College University Tour every year since 2002. And we think it is imperative, especially students from like New York State area. We don't have an HBCU in New York State, as you guys know, not a recognized HBCU. And it's so imperative that our students see people who look like them, who walk like them, who eat the same things that they eat in a college setting. They have to see not only students, but they have to see professors. They have to see administrators. They have to see PhDs. They have to see what success smells, tastes like, look like, walk like, talk like. And the immediate connection and bond is tremendous. I've done every year when I go on these trips, I think that we've reached our apex. And then I see the light bulb go on in a child that I had never seen that light go on before. And they just make
Wow.
that, hey, I belong here. I got a place I belong. I can do this, you know? So I do the HBCU tour because it is so valuable to our children connecting to their abilities.
I have two questions about the HBCU.
Yes, sir.
Question number one, the numbers, right? About how many
Yes.
students,
The
right?
numbers. The numbers are limiting on the
Wait,
HBCU.
there are two questions. Hold on.
Yes.
The numbers of students you take on tour, and through some vetting process or whatever the case is,
Yes,
do these HBCUs offer scholarships and money to students?
okay, that's a great question, man.
Through the program. So
Yes.
both the number of students that you're taking on tour, and one of the big things about parents is I can't afford it. So
That's
I afford to go to the tour and afford to go to the college.
Yes, sir. Great, two great points. First point is in terms of the college tour, it is limited, obviously, because it's space. We usually take a 56 passenger bus that makes the rounds, and we go out for a week, and we're on the road for a week and hitting all the every year we rotate the colleges that we go to. We visit over a 4-year span. We're going to visit up to 72 to 80 colleges, different HBCUs every 4 years. So I like to take them, kids get them when they're in 8th and 9th grade so that they can see the variations, the differences and all that good stuff. And they keep journals, and it's a working trip. It's a very business type trip. And that's one of the reasons it's successful. The other part of the question is, I think that I tell parents that if you're really interested in your child getting a scholarship, it doesn't start your junior year. It doesn't start your senior year. It starts in 4th grade, 5th grade. If I get a child by 8th grade, that's why I said if I get them by 8th grade, our program can be transformational. We have time now to make this child into the package that they want to be. I'm a former, I was a 1 year, what we call the Green Dean in the admissions office of a very, of an Ivy League school. We know how to package students. We know what they're looking for. We know how to set up their academic record from 8th grade through 12th grade. We know what courses they need to take. We know what the benchmarks are. We know how to get their SAT scores up, their ACT scores up. We do all that. So we have a very thorough academic program that if they follow it, I guarantee you they're going to get scholarship because we know what the scholarship benchmarks are. To answer the second part, we have, there's 2 different HBCU tours that go on. One is the tour itself, where we take 50, we have a 56 bus passenger. We go around to 8 to 10 schools that year. Every year we have at least, I would say 15 to 20 to 22 seniors. Every single one of our seniors get accepted on this route, and up to 3/4 of them get full financial scholarships because we know what the schools are looking for. We have our kids come prepared. They have all their transcripts. They have all of their SAT scores. They have their recommendations. We have packages that we have. Each one have about 10 to 12 packages that we do along the trip that they hand out. They do interviews on the spot. So our kids always get full scholarships. The other one is the largest HBCU college fair, which usually is in the Maryland, DC area. We take our seniors down to that one also. Every year, we're not the largest organization there, but we take the lion's share of the money. Usually they give out about $11 million in scholarship every year.
Wow.
My program
$11
alone
million.
walks away for the last 4 or 5 years. We walked away with 1.3 to 1.5 million.
Wow.
Because our kids are just prepared. They're always prepared, and that's because of the hard work that the directors do.
Now with COVID that just recently happened, and some of the kids not being able to take the SAT and the ACT exam, what approach did you all take in supporting the students get into one of these, schools?
Yes, ma'am. So it's very difficult, as you just showed. For the last 2 years, I really feel for our juniors and seniors because they've missed such a dramatic, I think, component of college preparatory. And so many schools have gone test optional. There's about 5 to 10% of schools now that are saying you don't even have to take the test. There's still the minority of schools that are saying that, but a lot of them have gone test optional. And so
Right.
we fashion their package around that. But for most, I don't know about New York City, but for most places outside of New York City, they still offer the SAT. My kids still took it last year and the year before. We found places where they can take that. And because we do SAT prep courses throughout the year to get our kids ready. We have professionals who work with the tests and design tests and get our kids ready, teach them how to read the test. Because to me, the test is really a function of how well you test, not a function of intelligence. The SAT has never been an intelligence test. The ACT is not an intelligence test. It's just how well you take tests. So we teach our kids how to take tests and have the background information that goes with that. But yeah, we had to reformulate some ways in which we package our kids during the last 2 years for those who could not get to the SAT or they were canceled when they got there because of COVID.
Right, which is a shame.
It is. It really is.
There's a question I want to ask, and I want to go back. One of the audience asked a question. Going back up, no. The question about funding.
Yes, sir.
The question is how is the program? There you go. Thank you. From Gail, how is the program funded?
Yes, sir. Most of the program is funded. We submit a lot of different types of grants and applications for various basic philanthropic organizations and individuals. We have not received any type. Well, I shouldn't say that. This year was the very first year we got any type of public money. We usually stay away from public money, meaning state, county, city, because it curtails too much of the work we do. They will put it in a straitjacket. And our kids don't learn that way. We can't do it the traditional way because we found that don't work. So we do a lot of other things that many of those types of grants from the state, the city, and the county would not allow us to do. But this year we did receive some money for the first time from the state. But overall, we get our monies from individual philanthropic people and organizations. Like we just got a health grant where we're working on the mental health of our youth. Many of them have been depressed due to COVID and other types of industry. Just being Black in America, you're depressed. So we have
Yeah, true.
we've been able to get medical grants from Blue Cross Blue Shield dealing with mental health of young Black students, and so we're dealing with their health, we're dealing with their physicality, we're getting them into all types of classes that get them moving, whether it's Zumba or martial arts, or we have culinary class that's teaching them how to eat healthy, how to cook healthy. We're dealing with parents, and our parents are in our community. We are all invited in these free. We do all this free, and so our biggest thing is trying to provide our community with not only academic pressure for our students, but trying to provide things that touch the very lives of our students, their families, and their parents, and the community at large.
Chanel wrote that Chanel Benson Reed, I'm assuming she's one of the persons who participates with the tour, and she writes that it changed her life. And she's like a volunteer. So actually, Chanel, I'm curious, and I would love for you to call in and tell us how that changed. I mean, Andre could put up the 718-791 number on that screen.
Yes,
you could 718-791 number 718-791-3950. Again, that's 718-791-3950. You could put that number up, and I would love for Chanel to call in and tell us, as a volunteer, how did that change her life? And
well, we call her Doc. Doc can definitely let you know what's going on. I think the very first year she came, she looked at me and said, "You know what? You don't have a program. This is a revolutionary act that you're doing. You're changing the lives of students."
James writes that we the John, myself, and Joanne need to step into a Zoom meeting to understand a lot of the effect.
We would love to have you come to one of our Zoom meetings, no doubt. James is one of our co-directors also. A young man who has put in time and energy galore. He runs our robotics team and our STEAM team meetings. So he introduces all of our students to the world of robotics, the world of STEAM, along with one of our exceptional seniors who has been teaching robotic courses for the last 2 to 3 years on a college campus, so that our students give back as well, those who have that expertise. And so James makes sure that happens. So he's such a vital part of our program.
Yeah, do you have like a convention?
We do. Our national
Where
organization.
all of the groups get together.
Yes, sir. Usually every July. Usually it's the second or third. I think it's the third week of July. We haven't done it in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've had our youth summits by Zoom and that type of stuff, because we also have youth summits throughout the year, empowering our students across the country. But we're hoping to do it this year. We're hoping this year that we might have be able to get together again in July.
From all the different locations?
Yes, ma'am. We come from all over the country.
Oh, that should be fun.
I think the village would love to participate with that. Because we actually, I'm really interested in how would we get that to lower what do you call that? You have the upstate and the lower state.
Low state. We call you guys downstate.
Yeah.
But I would love to, man. We would love to be able to get to the city. But the city has its unique challenges, because your boroughs are really spread out and all that good stuff. So how we would do it physically, I'm not quite sure. Maybe we have to start in one borough and then go from borough to borough to borough. I don't know, but you guys would have more insight in that than I would. But we would love to do that. We'd love to get enough parents who are passionate about this, and then we would roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious. You talk about the success rate, but share that emotion.
Yes.
Share that emotion to see.
Brother, I can tell you
that the kid. I mean, a lot of, because sometimes you have parents, right? Not sometimes. It's not sometimes. Very frequently, I have come across at the high school level. When I was in high school, and one of our persons is a middle school person, one's the elementary school level, and we're seeing frustration on parents.
Yes.
So talk to us. Are any of James, you, or Chanel can share a story of the look of the euphoria or whatever to see the transformation? Because you use that word transformational.
Yes, sir.
Look at the transformation of a student, the young man, young lady,
yes, sir,
who went through that program.
Yes. I don't know. Is Doc on, or did anyone called in yet? The Doc or
No.
James?
And before you answer that one, I also want to add to his question.
Yes.
Do you find that many of the students that you encounter are coming from single family homes, or from both parents, or just, hey, they just want to venture out?
Yeah.
What are you finding more?
The vast majority of our students are single parent homes, and most of them are without fathers. So that's why it's so important that I have co-directors like James and like Andrew, Black males who provide, in all that's an honesty to you. We become surrogate dads to a number of children, because part of the success of an academic program is only as successful as the child believes in you. You have to be a mentor at all times, no matter what academic things you're trying to accomplish. You must be a mentor. And so these three men are very good mentors to these children. Andrew and James are always mentoring young people, and myself as well. So the other four are females who are also doing hard work mentoring these young ladies, which again come from single homes, and they don't have an idea of what a relationship should be like, and interaction, not a relationship, but interaction with males, because they mostly come from female-dominated homes. And so they're always mentoring. We're 24/7, 365 mentoring all the time. And it doesn't stop with just the kids coming to the meeting or doing all the programs that we list. We have programs almost all week long to keep our kids engaged, to keep them away from the negative element and all that type of stuff. But most of the time, we're putting out fires. I get calls at 10, 11 at night. They'll say, Judge Rasheed, our electricity went off and we don't have no heat. We go into action. We take care of that. We do things way outside of the boundaries. But with our children, you have to, because
Yeah.
they're dealing with realities, and their ability to escape that reality is only as strong as the response that we can give them or help them with in escaping their predicaments. So, we're a 24-hour service.
Similar to what John said, I'm sorry about that. Similar to what John said, you're mainly doing a lot of the work that many churches would have done or could have done,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
might not be involved.
Yes.
And some of these families might not be involved in the church.
That's right.
It's just a way of building the bridge between the community
Amen.
and also
Yes, ma'am.
what it is that you're doing with these kids. So thank you.
No, thank you. I couldn't have said it better. I'm not a philosopher, not a big one anyway. And we've seen the shift in our community from in the gospel, from the gospel of social justice to the gospel of prosperity, and now we're seeing the effects of that long term. And our many of our temples, our mosques, our churches are no longer doing that kind of outreach from the social justice gospel. Now it's all about Benjamins, and so it's and not all churches, because we have some churches that are very involved with our community, but the vast majority doesn't do that work anymore.
That's true. And you're actually upstate, you're taking the place of where we're dealing with gang affiliation. So you're taking that portion part away from the kids by saying, hey, we're going to jump in, we're going to be hands-on. So that is so necessary, and that is why we have to make sure that we work together in creating a branch in New York City.
Amen. And that's why I'm on the village, because it takes a village, no doubt about it.
Yes. And
let me do you do home visits? Does the program do home visits to school? Does the parents say?
I can't tell you the amount of living rooms I've sat in and kitchen tables that all of our directors do. We go to these kids' homes. We talk with their parents, their grandparents, anyone that has any influence on them. We use every hook and crook we can get our hands on. That includes being in the home.
How many kids you say you have currently?
Location breakdown. In Utica, Rome is one what we call one branch, and that's probably close to 85 to 90. Then we go to Syracuse, which is historically have been about 65 to 70. Then you go to Memphis, which has been about, this is their first year, 40 to 45 with registered members. And then we go to individuals all over the country, because kids join us that are not part of groups. So we have kids from all over the country that builds up into another 45 to 50. So we're probably still around 220 or so total kids.
That is awesome. And when you really think about it, blacks are among the lowest, if not outside of Native American, I think is the second lowest graduation rate from college. And to look at 220 students, say 85% of them have graduated from college, and almost 99% graduating from high school. Those are real numbers.
Yes, sir.
And the effect that they're doing. And you didn't mention it, but a lot of these kids are going on to 4-year college, not just 2-year.
Right. The vast majority of our kids are going to 4-year college, and we do use. New York State has a wonderful. To be honest with you, as a former educator, New York has a wonderful junior college system, as one of the best in our country, and so we utilize that as well. But as you pointed out, the graduation rate for kids who go to junior college that goes on is woefully less than those who go directly into a 4-year school. But with our support and our follow-up, we take our JUCO graduates and put them in the 4 years, unless they were in a program that gives them the working knowledge they need right out of JUCO. Because some of our kids are not going to be academia all the time. Some of our kids are going to go into trade. Some of our kids are going to go into the different types of fields that you can do with a 2-year degree, and that's great. I'm all for it, as long as we can have a market created for them to get immediate employment and that type of thing. And that we work on that as well with many partners, I would say, throughout Central New York. Collaboration is the key, because we can't do everything, and to collaborate with those who want to see the same thing is a wonderful thing. It's a powerful tool.
That's important. I want to segue a little bit. I know I want to touch on your judgeship and some opinions some opinion questions on your judge, and then we want to finish up going back to
Yes, sir.
the work on the youth today.
Wait. Before his opinion, what made you become a judge?
Well, I've referred to my title as magistrate. There's
Uh-huh.
different tracks in New York State. There's a judicial, there's a judge track. They're all judicial. One is judge where you have to run
Right.
campaigns, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars and all that. And the other is an appointment I was appointed as a family court magistrate back in 1990, I think since 92, 93, I can't remember. Through various administrations, the original Cuomo administration, and then all the various administrations up through the Sons administration, up down to the up into just last year. So I wanted to. I just, when I was a kid, I was so passionate about fairness and justice. Got that from my dad, again, my father, and the only thing that he allowed us to watch TV on was 2 hours a day. And the only show that came on was Perry Mason. We only had 3 channels back in those days: ABC, NBC, CBS. And the only thing he would let me watch was Perry Mason. It was a legal show, and I saw this lawyer do social change type things, and that's when I decided at the age of 8 or 9 that I was going to be a lawyer. And I stayed with it. I mean, I went out and I bought the little plastic briefcase, and I begged my parents to buy me a trench coat because all the lawyers I saw on TV had trench coats on, and I just followed through since that time. I mean, I just hung with that idea because I thought it was the most effective way to bring about social justice.
Okay.
That's why I became a
Okay,
lawyer.
just to interrupt you, my producer's asking you to forward the number to Schnell that I think he sent you.
Okay.
Yes.
Excuse me 1 second. Yes, sir.
And I know that James put up as well to tell Marquis' story.
Oh, Marquis'
We'll
story.
share, yes, to everyone.
Okay. Marquis was a young man who was his father was incarcerated when he was about 6th or 7th grade. Got a life sentence, and Marquis was acting out. Obviously, you know, he lost his father. He was acting out in the household. He went to reform school. We did get him out of reform school at 8th, 9th grade, put him in our program. And Marquis was such a bright young man, but no one saw that brightness because all they saw was the misbehaving, you know, how it goes with our kids. They're acting up for reasons, and that's what they saw, was just the acting up. But in any event, Marquis was a brilliant young man, turned out to fall in love with academics. He fell in love with books, reading. And Marquis went on to graduate from high school with a top degree and went to one of the top colleges in America. He won the Fulbright Scholarship, Rhodes Scholarship. He won all of these prestigious scholarships. He took a year after college and traveled the world on their dime, doing whatever he does. And then he came back, and now he's won 2 full scholarships.
By the way, I'm sorry for the audience out there. Just explain briefly, like 1 or 2 seconds, what's a Fulbright scholarship?
A Fulbright scholarship is one of the scholarships given by one of the top academic institutions in the country, in the world, to the most brightest people in our country. They
Coming out of
they finance them to do things that allow them to follow their curiosity and to continue outside of the academic per se arena, to follow their curiosity, to create more of a love for whatever they're doing so that they can become a better leader. It fosters leadership and develops a love and a craving to do something outstanding. That's what it's for. And he won 3 or 4 of these.
This is a young Black man coming out of your program.
Yes, sir.
So, and you know, I want to applaud you.
Who was incarcerated?
Right, that people would have written this kid off.
Yes, sir.
But you guys didn't.
Yes, sir.
And that's important.
He didn't, and I'm giving the credit to Marquis.
And he didn't write himself off either.
Marquis decided he wanted to be something. He said, I had a choice. I could become a thug and end up with a life sentence like my dad, or I can do something transformational and become a lawyer and go and fight for my dad's release. And he chose the latter.
That's awesome. That's
Yes,
awesome. Sir. So I was gonna switch over a little bit to your role as a magistrate.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor. Today, the Colorado judge, Colorado governor. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. Yes, sir.
that changed the truck driver's sentence from 110 years to 10 years.
Yes, sir.
One, talk about why does he have, are you able to speak to why does he have the ability to do that as a governor, and maybe say, because the judge said his hands were tied.
Yes.
So what that means.
Yes, sir. And our legal system, you know, this is me talking as someone who had a 40-year legal career. Our legal system, everybody wants to think that it's a hard and fast system that treats everyone the same. Obviously, that's not true. Anyone who lives in America and can take off the blinders know that that's not true. So, and in doing,
okay, so give me 1 minute. I'll get you on air in 1 minute.
Okay, so in looking at the laws that we have across the state, and I'm not familiar with Colorado laws, but I do know that they have sentencing structures in every state. So whatever you're convicted of, the judge has a parameters that he must sentence you in accordance with those parameters. Only someone outside of that, like a governor or president, can mute something or change something like that. And sometimes the punishment just doesn't fit the offense. If anyone who looked at that case understands why he had to drive into the pile, and he wasn't, there was no intent to hurt, there was no intent to kill, there was no intent to maim. The reality is that he had no brakes. And so it's really interesting that they had to sentence him as if he was a mass murderer. And that's what he got sentenced 110 years, as if he was a mass murderer. But the facts didn't fit that, and everybody knew that. Even the prosecutor didn't even want him to be sentenced as a mass murderer. So only the governor or someone higher than could step in and say, you know what, I'm overriding the legal system, and I'm going to institute what I think is fair and just.
What's interesting though, is how quickly public outcry went from 110. I believe that I think the number is to call for 100 years. Before we continue on, we have Chanel on the line.
Yes.
Chanel, say hello to the villagers.
Hello, villagers. How's everyone doing this evening?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, Chanel.
Hey, Judge.
So he calls you Doc, like
yes,
we call. Is that a PhD doc or is it MD doc?
It's PhD, sir.
Oh, just like Dr. Bryan, she's PhD doctor.
Tell
us a little bit. What has it been like for you to be a volunteer for Junior Frontier?
You know, what I realized about the organization is if you want an injection of hope, an injection of belief, if you want to feel like there is something on the other side of all of this that we as people of color go through, being a part of the Junior Frontiers will help you see the greatness that all of our students have the ability to achieve. That's what I've learned in being a part of it. I got started around 4 or 5 years ago. I've been committed to the program since. I've had to take time off for different ventures I'm involved in, but the judge and all the other directors know that if there is a need, I will step up. I will do whatever is necessary. I did mention that the HBCU tour changed my life. I am originally from Southern California. There are no HBCUs in California. Say that again?
No, I said not at all. You're right about that.
Nothing even near anything like a HBCU. And when I moved east and I had an opportunity to go on the tour, I did not know what to expect. What I realized was stepping foot on a Black college or university, that was the first time in my life that I had been in an environment that was created for me. And I remember thinking to myself, I have done well for myself going to a PWI, a predominantly white institution. However, had
was it a PWI?
Yes.
Did you just say PWI? I've never heard that.
They call them PWIs.
I never heard that. I went to a PWI then, right? I went to a PWI.
Me too.
I couldn't believe. I was in awe of the entire experience, so much so that I had to figure out a way to get my daughters on the tour. If I see a kid on the street, my first question: are you in school? Where do you go? Did you take the SAT? Come to the Junior Frontiers. You need to be a part of this. It was a eye-opening experience just to see all of us operating in our genius with the standard of excellence, and to allow young people to see it as well.
I have a question for you, Chanel. Or Doc, either one of you can answer the question, or both. The question is, when the kid takes the bus, the expression versus when the kid gets off the bus, the expression.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's start with Doc first.
It's a long trip. It's a very long trip.
Oh no. I went to a special program as well, so we took long trips, but the feeling changes though from the beginning to the end.
Oh my God, yes. Most of our students are from the upstate area, and they've never been in an environment that was created for them. And so to step foot on a Black campus, they're like, oh my God, this is home. And so now they know there is a place for me, no matter what. There is a place for me. That's an unbelievable feeling to them. And so they are invigorated. They are enlivened, They are like, yeah, I can be home. Because that's what I see HBCU as. I saw it as home. And that's what the students see.
What about you, Doc?
I think when they get on the bus initially, unless they drove with us in the past, unless there's like a repeat student, if they get on the bus initially, the students are very pensive. They're very worried. Is this going to be military camp style? I mean, they're worried about the rules and regulations. Because we give them printed rules and regulations. We have them sign off on them that they're going to follow. We have a whole protocol. So they're worried that I'm not going to have no fun on this trip, And that's their pensive when they get on. By the time they get off, they're already saying, can I go next year? If they're not a senior, they're always trying to get up in the next year. If they're a senior, they're just saying, thank you. And we do all kinds of programs. We create our own culture on that bus. We create a culture of caring, loving, supporting, pushing. We all become each other's biggest booster. We push our seniors to excel. The young kids, we push them to learn. The kids have to keep journals the whole time. They're writing during all the interviews. When they're meeting the presidents of these colleges, the admissions officers of these colleges. They're taking notes. We transform them from students of curiosity to students who go about understanding how to take care of business. And so that trip is fundamentally changing for a number of reasons. I tell them if they're the same kid that got off the bus they got on, then I failed. I failed my mission. So we rarely fail.
Awesome. And so when the kids go on tour, Doc, are the kids only from the Mohawk Valley, or are these from the national scope of students?
We actually have students from all over go on the tour. So we have Mohawk Valley, we have Onondaga County, we have New Jersey, we have Philadelphia. Yeah. Whichever group of students who have signed up to be on the tour, those are the ones who are going to get on. We got 56 seats, and they fill up fast.
But do they all meet up in Mohawk Valley, or do you have different stops on the way? How does that work?
We have different stops along the way.
We picked up kids in Mississippi. We picked up kids in Ohio, Maryland.
You guys are just doing a tour. All right, yeah. I like. Thank you, Doc, for enlightening us on what is happening in the program. It's very important that people understand. I used to do an international tour for young people. And like you said, some of them didn't even have passports, never been on a plane before, right? And one of the things that they were always nervous about is, oh, Mr. Daly is going to separate our rooms, and and then they're like, I had one student, and I share the story all the time, that he went back, and the teacher was talking about something like the Colosseum, in Italy, and the student actually took over the class
Wow.
because
Wow.
the student actually, he went firsthand
Yes.
and saw the Colosseum and everything that applies to it.
Yes.
I was able to get that back. And I think that's what you're talking about when you say when the student get on, they're like, oh my God, I don't even know John, and he's my roommate,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
they get off. Now all of a sudden, Mike and John are now best friends, and
Exactly.
that happens a lot because now you spend so much time, you realize that you're not that far apart in worlds. That's important.
Very
So
true.
I actually want to find out more.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know our viewers, also our villagers, want to find out more. How can parents sign up? We're gonna get a New York City branch, so I'm gonna tell you
Yeah,
that
I'm with you. We're down.
we're gonna
So first, the
communicate.
best thing is to make contact with us at MV, that's MV Frontiers, FRONTIERS.com. And our Mohawk Valley Senior Club comes up. You click on Junior Frontiers, and then it all comes up. Then you can send us messages. You can uh, call us. Our phone numbers are listed for the directors. All our emails are there. All that good stuff. Please contact us.
Onika, Andre will bring that. Andre, can you bring up Onika's comment again, please? Judge, talk about the money our kids walk away with. What is that about?
Wow. So, like I said, like Anika is one of our recently new co-director, and her son moved, was in Texas, I believe, and moved about 2 or 3 years ago into the Mohawk Valley. And this young man, he has a motor. He's very, very motivated. But we gave him all of the types of structure that he needs, the direction that he needs, and the guidance and the mentorship. He walked away with a full scholarship at one of the top Ivy League schools, and not only did he get a full scholarship, but I mean they gave him so much money that he had to bank it. So he's just another great success story of a young man who applied himself and took advantage of all the things we had to offer, and turned it and parlayed it into a full ride for 4 years at a top Ivy League college. So he's a great example.
And it's great to have parents come back and say, hey, you know what?
Yes.
To advocate, to say, hey, you know what, my child was able to walk away from this, and this is how important this program is. So
yes, ma'am.
It's awesome.
Every one of our directors, except for me, every one of our co-directors, I think we have 7, are former parents of students that were in our program. They loved it so much they came back and said, I want to join. I want to give time. I want to give back. Even though their kids are all gone. They are volunteering now. They're full-time.
Before Joanne, you ask that question, Doc, before I let you go, tell the parents out there in a couple of sentences why this program is so important in your own words.
I would say in my own words, I watch students who have interest in going to schools all over the country. I deal with them on a day-to-day basis, and they get accepted. It might not be a good fit. They reach out to me and say, hey, Doc, I went on this tour. I was wondering if you could help. They find themselves at an HBCU. Now they're a 4.0 student. When it comes to the junior frontier, our goal is to get students where they want to be. That's it. Where do you want to be? Let's figure out how to get you there. Whether that's at an Ivy League school, whether that is at a UC school, or whether that's at an HBCU. Our goal is to get them where they want to be, and we will move whatever we have to get them there. We stand in the trenches with them. That's why the program is so important.
All right. God bless, and thank you for calling in.
Yes, thank you for your dedication too.
I also want to mention that we've gone international. We've had students from Burundi, students from Nigeria, from Liberia. We started a trip where we take now, in conjunction with our sister program in Indianapolis, who initiated the African tour. We now take our kids on an African tour every year. We've been to South Africa. Last year we were supposed to go to Ghana. but it got canceled because of COVID. This year we're supposed to go to either Ghana or Kenya. So we were exposing our kids to international flavor because we want them to see that themselves as world leaders, world
Yes.
citizens.
I was just looking at going to Ghana, so I'm
Actually, one of my girlfriends right now, she's in Ghana. So
Wow.
I looked up. I don't remember which part of Ghana I looked up, but I did look up a couple of places on the coast and Nigeria. To be honest, with you. You mentioned two places right away that I was thinking about. I want to go back to a couple of questions and then finish up strong with. So we're talking about the judge, the situation. There was last week came out that the judge in New Orleans, her comment with the N-word and so forth, gave a great disservice to why, well, not a disservice, but it gave credence to why people don't trust the court system, why they talk about people. What is your reflection on that?
I don't know that particular judge, and I'm not too familiar with the circumstances other than what I read, like you.
Right.
But my overall comment would simply be, you cannot have a nation that is multicultural, multi-diverse, not also have that diversity and reflection at every element of every one of our institutions. People have to see themselves in order to believe in any institution. If I don't see myself in that institution, whether it's my culture, whether it's my language, whether it's my orientation, it's hard for me to be vested in the outcome of that institution. So I think that by having someone in that institution use that N-word, it just reinforces for those of us whose skin is who come from the darker hue, it reinforces for us that this institution does not serve us. It does not have our best interest in mind. If they can use that kind of language.
And that's actually how I felt. I felt.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer nor a judge. I'm an educator, but I felt that it created a great disservice and distrust.
Yes, sir.
Right.
It does.
Of the system. And when you look, and sometimes when you look at, when you walk into the system, the court system, what you find is not a lot of people of color who are in the position to dole out sentences.
That's right.
And penalties, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're making these kind of comments,
that's right.
How can I even walk in and say I'm gonna give up immediately?
Exactly. You have no faith from the get-go that you're going to get any kind of justice. No faith.
And that it goes not just for this woman, but for everybody else around her. Because now I can't trust you either.
Exactly.
Because maybe you all think the same.
And that's why something has to be done about that situation.
Yeah. I think they said they're going to revisit some of her cases. Any thoughts on Desmond Tutu? I just thought about that.
He was one of my heroes. I got to meet him in person. I just think he was a great man. He put forth many of the strategies in place that were utilized throughout the continent of Africa. And I think that his place in history is still yet to be developed.
Awesome. James wrote, if you don't love the people, eventually you will betray the people. And that explains that judge in New Orleans.
That's right.
So I just, again, can you give us that information again to put up for Frontier Valley? And just tell us, I guess in one sentence, how important this work it is for you.
This work is so important to me. I retired so that I could do this full time. That's how important it is to me. I was blessed to have a career that gave me and my family economic stability, but that wasn't why I took the job. So I retired so that I can do this full time, and that's what I do. It's my passion. It's the reason that I live.
And you know what? We thank you for that. We thank you for your dedication. We thank you for your commitment and your drive for investing in the young folks. And it will not be forgotten. And they'll come back to thank you, just like the parents. So thank you. And I look forward to working with you so that we can set up New York City.
Ma'am. Thank you, Doctor. I look forward to that.
And thank you for continuing the work of Desmond Tutu, because he really was a pioneer.
Yes, sir. No doubt. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
God bless you guys. Keep the village alive.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.